A 9-year-old turns a key in a lock, pushes open a door, and steps into a house with no one in it. No parent, no babysitter, no voice calling out to ask about their day. Just the hum of the fridge and a whole afternoon of silence. That kid was you. School let out and nobody was waiting. You walked home alone, made your own snack, and watched whatever you wanted until the streetlights came on and told you it was time to go in. Nobody tracked you. Nobody texted to check in. For hours, every single day, the world simply forgot you existed. And in that silence, something got wired into you that most people will never understand. This is the psychology of Gen X. Born between 1965 and 1980, squeezed between the loud boomers and the endless millennials. The generation no marketer studies, no politician chases, no documentary remembers. They literally called you slackers on the cover of Time magazine and then moved on. They call you the forgotten generation. But forgetting you might be the best thing that ever happened to your mind. Because what looked like neglect from the outside built something almost nobody else has. Stay with me, because by the end, you'll see why the generation nobody paid attention to became the only one that never needed it. It starts with that key around your neck. You weren't just a kid who came home early. You were the first generation in modern history raised this way at scale. The divorce rate doubled while you were growing up. Both parents went to work. There was a name for what you became, and they coined it just for you. The latchkey kid. No adult managing your afternoon. No schedule. You handled dinner, homework, and the scary noise in the basement alone before you were 10. So a lesson burned itself in early. The world does not come to rescue you. You rescue yourself. That's why, as an adult, you'll wrestle with a problem alone for 3 hours before it occurs to you to ask one person for help. Independence isn't a value you chose. It's scar tissue. It grew over the place where supervision was supposed to be. But independence was only the first thing those empty houses built. The next one shows up every time somebody tries to sell you something. Because it wasn't just the empty house that shaped you. It was what you watched from inside it. You grew up watching the promises break. Live. In January 1986, you sat in a classroom and watched the Challenger explode on the TV they'd wheeled in. A teacher on board, gone in 73 seconds, in front of millions of kids. You watched the news tell your parents one thing and do another. Every authority that told you to trust them eventually got caught lying. The government, the church, the corporation, the ad that swore this product would change your life. So you stopped believing the pitch. You became a human lie detector. To this day, you can feel manufactured enthusiasm from across a room. Corporate cheerfulness makes your skin crawl. When someone sells too hard, smiles too wide, promises too much, every alarm you own goes off at once. People mistake it for negativity. It isn't. It's a generation that learned the hard way to read the fine print on everything, including people. That radar has protected you your whole life. But it came with a cost, one you've probably never said out loud. Nobody asked how you felt. Feelings, in your house, weren't a conversation. They were something you handled, privately, and got over. You didn't process emotions. You absorbed them, cracked a joke, and kept moving. "I'm fine" stopped being a sentence and became a reflex. And that came at a price. You struggled to let people all the way in. You'd rather carry it than share it, even when sharing it would help. But here's the half nobody gives you credit for. When life falls apart, you don't. You've watched whole generations come undone by a bad week. You go quiet, square your shoulders, and deal with it. The same wall that keeps people out is the wall that keeps you standing. Now hold that wall in your mind, because it didn't just lock your feelings in. It made you something the next part is going to surprise you with. Think about what your life has actually contained. You are the only generation alive that remembers both worlds completely. A childhood with no internet, an adulthood that runs entirely on it. You were the first MTV generation, glued to a screen in 1981, watching a brand new thing nobody's parents understood. You made mixtapes, and you streamed playlists. You memorized a dozen phone numbers by heart. You got lost in an unfamiliar town with no map, no GPS, no way to call ahead, and you found your way anyway. That makes you rare. You're not afraid of technology, and you're not enslaved by it. You can learn any new app in an afternoon because you've adapted to constant change your entire life. But you also know, in your bones, that life worked fine before any of it. You can put the phone down. You remember who you were without it. The younger ones can't, and the older ones never learned. You stand on the bridge between two worlds, and you're the only one who's walked both sides. And there's a reason the way you cope confuses everyone younger than you. The sarcasm, the dry one-liner, the eye roll that says more than a paragraph. Your whole generation had a soundtrack for it. A kid from Seattle in a torn cardigan screaming about how he felt. And for once, somebody was saying the quiet part out loud. People think the cynicism is bitterness. It's not. It's armor you forged early, in a world that wasn't going to hug you, so you learned to laugh at it instead. Dark humor is how you survived the things nobody helped you carry. It's not that you don't care. It's that caring openly was never safe, so you wrapped it in a joke and handed it over sideways. And every piece of this, the independence, the radar, the wall, the humor, built the one thing this culture refuses to notice. You are the most adaptable person in any room. Being overlooked as a kid taught you to read a room and slip into it. You can sit across from a boomer boss who wants respect and a Gen Z coworker who wants meaning, and you can speak to both and translate between them because you were never fully on either side. You're the middle child of generations, and like every middle child, you got ignored, so you got resourceful. So, here's the truth nobody ever tells you. Being forgotten was not the wound everyone assumes it was. It was a strange, severe kind of freedom. You were never handed a script for how your life was supposed to look, so you wrote your own. No one watched closely enough to set the expectations, so you got to define them. While entire generations on either side of you argue, loudly, about who has it worst, you quietly built the lives, raised the kids, ran the companies, fixed the things, and asked for almost nothing in return. The forgotten generation isn't the one that lost. It's the one that learned, earlier than anyone, how to never need permission to be okay. If you saw yourself in any of this, the key around your neck, the empty house, the reflex, "I'm fine," the quiet refusal to fall apart no matter what lands on you, then this was always about you, even if the world never quite got around to saying so. So, tell me in the comments, what's the one Gen X thing you do that nobody younger will ever understand? And if this hits somewhere real, there's a whole generation down there that finally, completely gets it.